Hey guys, welcome back. What's up? We found another. I don't know how I feel about this one. A little bit of both. But we found another weirdo gaming journal. I don't want to call it a journalist because I don't know anything about this guy. But last year, EA made a game called Immortals of Avium, right? And they're seemingly now going to use it to go into one of their other nobody wants single player games spiel. Let's go over this quickly, and then we'll get into it. EA and the studio reportedly invested $125 million making a new single player IP with zero microtransactions, no grind, a shorter running time, and guess what? No one bought it. Right off the bat, I actually had to go check. Like, I heard of the name Immortals of Avium, right? And when I looked it up, I know that I saw it on the EA launcher, but apart from that, I saw zero marketing about this. Right? I didn't know what the game was about. It didn't look like it was for me when I was on the EA Play thing, right? Because I obviously I own EA Play. Well, own. I pay for it. I'll put it that way. So straight off the bat, I'm already like, no one bought it. Yeah, I can tell you why, right? Most people don't know this exists. Immortals of Avium's launch went so poorly that almost half the studio was laid off shortly thereafter. A new report by IGN into the wider topic of industry layoffs, which are worse than they've ever been, contains a fascinating insight. I disagree with this. About one of last year's less successful AAA titles. Immortals of Avium was the debut title from Ascendant Studios, released on Steam and consoles in August 22. Came out to mixed reviews and largely sank without trace. PCG's review called it a fun, magical FPS that fails to cast any new spells on the way to a 68% score. Okay, we gotta talk about this real quick, guys. Like, this to me, in these days, that means it's a terrible game, right? That means people think it's terrible. 68% in these days of overbloated scores is it's like the equivalent of 40% back in the day, right? It really is. Like back when I was young, which was by now a long time ago. I'm old as hell. All right. Back when I was young, when you had a 70% game, that game was actually pretty damn good, right? When you had a 90% game, bro, that was the best game of the year, all right? Like I feel like review scores shot up in the sky, man, when the years moved on. Like yeah. It's just 68% to me now that I would equate that to a 40% game. So it's not already like the reviews weren't already stellar, shall we say. The thing is, EA had invested big in this game, and Ascendant had some firm ideas about what the game playing public might want from it. Immortals of Avium had a launch party. I don't even know how to say the name. Had a launch party where developers were asking higher ups about how the game sale looked and were met with evasive answers. Shortly afterwards, citing the game's underperformance, almost half the studio was laid off, around 50 people in total. At a high level, Immortals was massively overscoped for a studio's debut project, said one ex-Ascendant employee. The development cost was around 85 million. That's crazy for like a first game of a game studio, right? There's okay, we're going into this later. Sorry, let me continue. I think EA kicked in 40 million for marketing and distribution. I'm guessing most of it went to distribution because I didn't see jack shit about this game. Like, I literally had to go look it up when I was reading this, right? When someone linked it to me, I was reading this. I'm like, what the hell is this game? I had to look up the game. That's how good your marketing was. Where did this 40 million go? Right? It didn't go to marketing. I'm I'm going to guess 90% of the people that actually click on this video will have no idea what game this is. They'll have a vague idea of, oh, I heard that name before. But marketing? There was no marketing. All right, I didn't see jack shit. Sure, there was some serious talent on the development team, but trying to make a AAA single player shooter in today's market was a truly awful idea. I think just trying to make a shooter in today's market is an awful idea. There's so many first person shooters. Like, it's just, it ends up being the same damn thing, every single time, right? Just look at Call of Duty, man. When's the last interesting Call of Duty you played? Like Call of Duty 1 and 2? Right? It's like, that That genre has been oversaturated for a couple of decades now. What ended up, blah, 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 especially since it was a new IP that was also trying to leverage Unreal Engine 5. So they're like trying to like rush that shit out as well. What ended up launch that's what I get from that anyway. What ended up launching was a bloated, repetitive campaign that was far too long. The game sold a tiny fraction of what was predicted, and while the blame for severe layoffs like this is often laid at the door of the publishers, some of those who worked on the title look back with regret on the style of game they made. Another Ascendant employee, still with the company, references a popular games industry expos that became something of a meme. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I'm not kidding. Well, Ascendant staff reckoned that was what they were doing with Immortals of Avium. It's not a sequel or a remake, says the employee. It doesn't take 400 hours to beat, has zero microtransactions, no pointless open world grinding. Although not everyone loved it, it reviewed pretty well, currently sitting at a 74 on OpenCritic and a mostly positive on Steam. No one bought it because no one knows it existed. Like, this is crazy. I saw zero marketing for this, all right? Zero. I'm in Europe, obviously, right? If you put all your marketing in America, I'm not. I'm just guessing, like shot in the dark. If you put all of the money for marketing into America, 95% of your consumers will not have seen, will not know about this game. All right, like America is just a small piece of the pie still, you know. Like the bigger overarching pie also requires some marketing. I did not know anything about this game. I didn't even know it was an FPS with magic shooting. All right, like that sounds like a cool idea, right? Apparently, eventually, it was terribly implemented. We'll get to that because we're gonna go check on this mostly positive on Steam. I mean, technically, that's true. It does say mostly positive on Steam, but the first couple are negative, and they will immediately tell you why you shouldn't get this game. People will doubtless have strong opinions on whether Immortals of Avium does indeed tick all those boxes. But that last line is stark indeed, and it does make you think about how easily layoffs like these are put at the door of the money man when really, with something like this, it's cold hard economics. There's plenty of layoffs due to gross mismanagement and greed, but there's also plenty that happen because this is a stupidly volatile market that requires mountains of capital to participate in at a professional studio level. While, yes, certainly there is some truth into this, I direct your attention to, for example, Stardew Valley, made by one guy, and he made tons of money off of that game. Fantastic game. Completely single player. There's co-op now, but besides the point that it took like years for the co-op to even show up. One of the best games of the last decade. Easily. All right? Made by one guy. All right? It doesn't take that much capital. It doesn't take that much expertise. It takes passion. Something AAA game studios haven't got for a long time. All right. If you make a soulless corporate product, and I'm not saying Immortal of Avium is a soulless corporate product, I have not played it, right? Because I didn't even hear about it until now. We might actually play it on stream at some point because I have the game, right? I've got EA Play. I'm signed up to that, so we could play it for free. Um, but I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't even look all that interesting from what I've seen of it. All right, so no marketing, some bullshit of like, oh, we spend so much money we need so much money to play at a professional level. Well, that is not true. All you need to make a good game is a little bit of skill and a boatload of passion. If the passion oozes out of your game like it does in Stardew Valley, people are gonna we're gonna gobble that up, man. We're gonna suck on that D until we get what we want. Many times. All right. That's just how it goes. If you make your game with passion, if you love your own game and you really want it to succeed, and that passion oozes out of the game, like look at the graphics in Stardew Valley. Let's be honest, they're garbage, but they work perfectly. They're made in. It feels like it feels lovingly made. Everything about. I'm a huge Stardew Valley fan. Can you tell? Everything about that game oozes the passion that the developer had for making it, and it just That's why it's a success. Like the developer wanted to make this game, like really, really wanted to make this game, and he did on his own, right? With very little money, I suspect, until the game came out, and then boom, you're rich now, son. Congratulations, right? Like, anyway, moving on. For all the things Ascendant did right, paying people well, an entirely remote studio, little overtime until the end, chill environment with lots of freedom to grow, respecting QA, hiring juniors, etc., it did not work out. Ascendant Studios remains active, though there's no news on its next project, and work on Immortals of Avium seems to have wrapped up. Whatever else can be said about the game and whether those employees' estimates of the investments are accurate, it represents one of the big publishers betting on a new IP without all the live service nonsense that the audience claims to hate. It represents a AAA studio run in the way that the games industry Twitter hive mind thinks they should be run. None of this helped the game break through or sell enough to keep its makers employed. This is a weird one. I thought this was a weird one. Like, oh, the Twitter hive mind. No. Like, here's the thing. All right. We don't mind live service games if they're good. Look at Helldivers 2. That's a live service game. I am loving Helldivers 2. All right. Democracy. Yes, Helldivers 2 is great. Now look at Suicide Squad. All right. Okay. Both are live service games. One's gonna perform a hell of a lot better than the other one. Alright. It's not the fact that it's single player only, so it's shit. Oh, it's live service, so it's shit. No. If the game is good, we will get it. If the game is stellar, we will get it. If the game is good enough that people talk about it, we will get it. If you put money into marketing and we see a cool trailer, we will keep our eyes on it. I didn't see jack. I've said this 4 times already. I didn't see jack of marketing from this game, all right? Not a damn thing. The only reason I knew about it, I knew of the name, is because it popped up on the EA thing, right? On the, I don't even know what it's called. It used to be Origin. It's something else now. The EA app or something? EA Play? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, no commercials on Twitter. No, on Twitter, on Twitch, for example, which would be I would think one of the best places to advertise games. Go directly to all the nerds, you know, like it's crazy. And then when you look at Steam, Avium, it's on a massive sale right now. By the way, 60% off. LOL. While the thing is, like it's like they said, most of the reviews mostly positive, right? So people did mostly like it. The few negative reviews are already enough for me to like. I would not buy it when I read these reviews. Again, we might actually play through it because I essentially have it for free. Pros: the gameplay is really fun for the most part, and they really nailed a lot of the big set piece moments that a game claiming to be called with magic should have. So this is already, like, for me, this is a red flag because even though I almost buy it every year, this is such a terrible franchise. It's like I said, the last good one was like the first two. No, that's not true. The fourth one, the original Modern Warfare, was amazing too. But yeah, that was like 20 years ago, guys. The visual style is really nice. It looks really nice. Because the game actually does look like visually, I wouldn't say stunning because it's, these days, if your game doesn't look visually stunning as a AAA studio, then what are you doing? This is like, it looks fairly normal, to be honest. A little flashy because of the magic and stuff, right? But this alone, right here, this would make me not buy the game. Just that little snippet, I already know enough. Cons. The plot and characters are absolute garbage. Every character talks and acts like an obnoxious Z-grade MCU knockoff who's more concerned with desperately trying to be funny than anything else. Jack, the main character, is one of the worst offenders here, and I honestly would have preferred a stock, silent Call of Duty protagonist to the whiny, annoying idiot that we got stuck with here. Like this is giving me vibes of, oh, what was that other game? It came out at around the same time. I remember that much with the I can move shit with my freaking mind. Yeah, like shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear yapping in our ears every 5 seconds. We don't want to hear like, especially if you're like trying to be funny, and usually they massively fail, right? Like that alone will instantly turn off a lot of people. You could tell that from the other from the PlayStation game. I think it was PlayStation. I don't remember. It's a console game. Who cares? It's just, we don't want this in our heads constantly when it doesn't really matter. Like at least I don't. Right. This isn't helped by the plot being absurdly predictable. It feels like it's following the generic fantasy sci-fi story, young adult. Sorry, my brain. Young adult story template word for word, and you'll be able to call every plot twist and story beat if you've even got a third grade reading level. The worst part about all of this is that one of the lead writers is someone. The man who wrote Morrowind, who wrote Coda, who made the Elder Scrolls lore interesting, is one of the head writers, one of the lead writers on this trash. I refuse to believe it. He has such a distinct style and voice as a writer, and not a single thing here except I don't know why I'm reading this actually. It doesn't really matter, right? So while it does say mostly positive, right? There's a bunch of criticisms being levied at this game that I can tell you will turn a lot of people off. All right, and the fact that it wasn't marketed at all. Did you guys see marketing for this? I did not see any. Literally no marketing for this game whatsoever. I'm from Belgium, Europe. All right. Granted, not exactly the biggest market, but I mean, Western Europe is still pretty damn big, and we buy a lot of games. All right. The fact that I didn't see a single advertisement for this game says it all, right? You cannot complain. Oh, nobody buys our game. If nobody knows your game exists, all right? Maybe you should have spent that 40 million in a better way, because I had no idea this game existed if I didn't have EA Play, all right? And a lot of people don't have EA Play. So how many people have no idea that this game even exists now? Or it's like, and they're gonna use this like, oh, nobody wants single player games anymore. Yeah, we do want single player games. We want good, passionate single player games. Just as much as we want good, passionate online games, good, passionate live service games, right? Look, again, I have to look at the difference between the reception of Helldivers 2, which also launched with a bunch of problems, all right, and the reception of Suicide Squad, all right. Suicide, well, Jesus, blah, 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 blah. Suicide Squad has the honor, right, of also having this bit right here, because it is literally MCU DC universe, right? Is literally this. This is a big problem for a lot of people, guys. All right, we don't care. I mean, I personally, right? I hate that stuff so much when they're always just yapping away in my ear, like, okay, dude, I get it, you know. Um, and the fact that, well, Suicide Squad also had like apparently terrible writing in certain places of the story that people are very mad about. No spoilers. I mean, everyone knows probably what I'm talking about, but yeah. Um, but in total, they're just gonna use this as some dumbass excuse again, right? Even though it was clearly their own damn fault. Who knows this game existed? Let me know in the comments if you know this game existed at all. That's it. I'm gone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you guys on the next one.